Son. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first, than when we first, than when we first begun. Precious Jesus, sweetest Jesus, come and claim your own. I am weary of seeing your love spurned. You have given, you've been broken, your love stands alone. Yet so many their faces have turned. Yet I'll stand, for I know you are with me, and your hand, it will never let go. Like a rock, you will shade and protect me. Give me power to live here below. Precious Jesus, sweetest Jesus, the hour is late, and your children are crying, how long? Give me strength and endurance to run this great race. Give me wisdom to tell right from wrong. And I'll stand, for I know you are with me, and your hand, it will never let go. Like a rock, you will shade and protect me. Give me power to live here below. Precious Jesus, sweetest Jesus, time is running out. Help me labor for those who are lost. Help me tirelessly seek for the pearl of great price, and to seek it no matter the cost. And I'll stand, for I know you are with me, and your hand, it will never let go. Like a rock, you will shade and protect me. Give me power to live here below. Give me power to live here below. There are times this human heart would love to question why, and there are times that far my part the road seems hard and dry. But this road's been traveled by the greatest man who lived and died to take away my sin, and now my heart to win. I believe in miracles, I believe your word. I can't distrust the promises of a faithful, loving Lord. And though it's hard to see right now, I trust that in the end I'll find out how your love was working while our hearts were searching, waiting for a miracle of grace. I believe. There are those upon this earth, and even those I love, who refuse the greatest gift sent from up above. And though it pains my heart to see, I know it pains you more than me, for it was all your blood, the proof of your great love. I believe in miracles, I believe your word. I can't distrust the promises of a faithful, loving Lord. And though it's hard to see right now, I trust that in the end I'll find out how your love was working while our hearts were searching, waiting for a miracle of grace. And I believe your promise never will grow old. I believe you never ever change. So I claim the blood just now that flowed from cuts upon your brow, a sinful soul to save, which you so freely gave. I believe in miracles, I believe your word. I can't distrust the promises of a faithful, loving Lord. And though it's hard to see right now, I trust that in the end I'll find out how your love was working while our hearts were searching, waiting for a miracle of grace. Though it's hard to see right now, I trust that in the end I'll find out how your love was working while our hearts were searching, waiting for a miracle of grace. I believe. Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs.
Good evening, welcome to the Power Hour. We hope that you will be blessed tonight. As you join us, you have a prayer request. We'd love for you to put that prayer request in the comment or the chat box, and we will take it, put it in our journal, and we'll pray for your requests all this week. We'll be joining
fills my heart
Dominica for a special program. So you sit back, enjoy the music until they are ready for us. And again, if you have a prayer request, just put it in the chat, put it in the comment box. We'll see it and write it in our journal, and we'll pray for you this week.
Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind me closer still to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh take and seal it. Here's my heart, seal it for thy courts above. Here's the heart that to rescue from danger.
Okay, good night, everybody, and God's blessings to everybody. We welcome you this evening to our first installment of our Family Togetherness Week. We will be doing 2 nights and 1 morning. So tonight we will be having a panel discussion on the genesis of the family. And the panelists, you will hear more just now. And on a Wednesday morning, it's our prayer morning. So we'll be praying for the family. So then from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., that will be our slot. And then on Friday evening, same time, in terms of 7:15, we will be on with the second part of the panel discussion. And so I want to welcome us from north, from south, from east and west. And if you are joining our platform this evening, we welcome you. We want to welcome Pastor Walter and his congregation and his platform with us tonight as we as we delve into a topic, I think, which will be of tremendous significance to us as we revisit the landmark of Genesis chapter 2. And so I say welcome, and I do appreciate your presence and your person as we participate together, as we have a dialogue in the context of family and family togetherness week. And so without a further ado, let's just assume a posture of prayer. Father, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your blessings, and we ask that you would guide the conversation this evening on whatever platform we may appear. May the content of this conversation be a blessing to all those who will hear, who will receive, and who will participate. And so we ask that you would guide this process so that things would be done in decency and in order. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to do one hymn, and that hymn will be done by Sister Janice McGlaw. And after that, we shall get into the meat of the matter. So panelists, please make yourself present so that we can do what we have to do coming after the rendition of the hymn by Sister Maglaw. Sister Maglaw, the floor is yours.
Good night, everyone. Our hymn is song number 8. We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chastens and hastens His will to make known the wicked oppressing, nor cease from distressing. Sing praises to His name. He forgets not His own. Beside us to guide us, oh God, with us joining, all daily maintaining His kingdom divine. So from the beginning, the fight we were winning. The Lord was at our side, our glory be thine. We all do extol Thee, Thou leader triumphant, and pray that a still our defender will be. Let Thy congregation escape tribulation. Thy name be ever praised. O Lord, make us free. Amen.
Okay, good night again, and thank you very much, Sister Maglaw, for the rendition of the hymn. Now we are looking at this evening the genesis of the family, and interestingly, that subject takes us to Genesis chapter 2. Now, as I said previously, we are in the midst of September, and the first week in September is always Family Togetherness Week. And so we are attempting to have a dialogue on the origin of the human family, and we are going to be looking at Genesis chapter 2, and the verses are verses 20 to 25. On this portion of scripture, we're going to have a conversation. It's a conversation that's a dialogue in the form of a panel discussion. And there are a few panelists who are going to come and contribute. And what we want to do is to also give persons an opportunity to make their contribution. So here's how we are attempting to do this. We are going to have the panelists reflect on the questions that they will be asked. And when that is done, when we get to the place towards the end of the program, we are actually going to open the program so that persons who may have questions based on what was said in the course of the program, those questions now will be thrown to the panelists, and the panelists will respond in like manner. And so this is the approach we are adopting for tonight. Now, Genesis chapter 2 and verses 20 to 25 says, And Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowls of the air and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmate for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and he brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So that is the context of our conversation tonight, or our discussion tonight. And so let me introduce the panelists, and I would ask that they would turn on their cameras so that the persons, I see Elder Shaw is present. He's presently the present first elder of the Wesley SDA Seventh-day Adventist Church. Sister Florence Gage, are you there?
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, Sister Florence Gage is here, and she is capable and able church clerk of the Calibishi SDA Church. Ella Paris, are you there? Okay. Ella Ezra, are you there? Okay. Okay, it's me and my camera. So Ella
Yes,
Paris,
I am, Pastor.
Ella Paris has been a long-serving, outstanding member of the SDA community in Marigot, and we are grateful to have him for his wisdom. And Elder Ezra as well, who has been a long-serving member of the Benz SDA Seventh-day Adventist community, and we are happy to have him as well. Elder Randolph Collier. Are you there?
Yes, I am there.
All right. If possible, nice. Okay, Elder Randolph Collier, who is presently the first elder of the Woodford SDA Church and a long-serving community member of the church. We are, interestingly, all of the persons we have on the platform, they are married and married for a number of years, with the exception of Elder Collier, who recently lost his wife. So he is a widower, and in the interim. And so we welcome every single person who is on the platform, challenge, speaking openly and honestly on the topic of the genesis of the family. It is a topic, I think, that holds a lot of information for all of us. And so we launch into the topic. As I read from the extract of Genesis, the first question I want to place to the platform across is this question of, why is it that God felt that Adam needed a helpmate? And I want to underscore the word helpmeet so that we can pay some attention to it. Not just the idea of a companion, but the idea of a helpmeet. Sister Florence, you're the flower in the midst of all these men. So I'm going to go with you first. Go ahead.
Let me say good evening to all. You are hearing me clearly, Pastor?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay, so this evening, why is it that Adam needed a helpmate? As we see in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 20, that the animals were brought to Adam to name them. And while Adam was naming them, he realized that they were not alone. There was an addition. It was like two, a mate for them. And he realized that he was given the responsibility, and he was naming them, and he realized male and female. But after naming them, he realized that himself was alone. He did not have somebody close to him. He did not have a companion. And so when I look at the word helpmeet in the dictionary, it means helper. It means a companion, somebody close to, somebody that you need. You need and somebody close to you. And so God provided that helpmeet for him, that helper, that companion, somebody that would love him, somebody that he would feel of his own, somebody he can relate to, somebody that would show sympathy to him, somebody that would understand him. And that is what God wanted, somebody of his kind. Because the animals, there was, say, like a lion, a male or female. But God wanted to provide for him somebody of his kind, somebody that would relate, somebody that would understand him, understand his plight, understand everything about him. And, human beings are social beings. So God wanted to provide somebody that would communicate, to have intimacy and all this with him. So that is why God saw it fitting to provide for Adam a helpmeet.
Thank you very much, Sister Gage. Ella Paris, let me hear you on that.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Pastor. Before I comment on the question, I'd like to make a few remarks. One, the basis for this discussion this evening is the genesis of the family as outlined in the book of Genesis from a biblical perspective. However, I'm sure that we will all be aware that since the genesis of the family as described in the book of Genesis, the meaning of family has since been redefined on a global level to mean one man with many women, many wives, one man taking another man for his helpmate, and one woman taking another woman for her helpmate. So in our legal and social, in our legal and sociological structures nowadays, all these are called families. But all the remarks I'll make tonight is specifically in relation to the one man, one woman scenario as put out by Genesis. Why did God have to make a helpmeet for Adam? I'm not sure I have the answer for that, what it seemed to me, it appeared that everything living on two legs or four legs around Adam in the Garden of Eden apparently seemed to have been paired off. And the only living creature in the garden that didn't have partnership or companion seemed to have been Adam. And apparently God saw his need and understand the impact it would have on his life. And he found the best way to fulfill it was to go the way he went and create another human partner for him. I would have to say it is on the basis that God sees and understands our needs even before we can ask him to fill them. I wish I had, and I'm sure Pastor you're aware, that I wish I had more time to research the subject. But I feel I would make a better contribution. So I will just limit it to what I understand at this point in time. I think that God saw his need and he had a need. And God decided to fulfill that need, and that's the way God chose to do it. God could choose another way, but that's the way he chose to do it. Because God did not have to populate the world with human beings, he could do it another way. And God did not have necessarily give Adam a helpmeet. He could take another route. But whatever God does is the best thing. And I think in order to make a helpmeet to give Adam to be his companion was a really good decision from which I also benefited.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elder Paris. Appreciated. The answer is on point. The answer is on point. Your experience with your research. And so that is blessings. Now, I want to, this next question is directed at Elder Shaw and Elder Ezra. The whole idea of the helpmeet, which was answered by Sister Florence and Elder Paris. But when we read, we realize that God took a rib. He took a rib to make the helpmeet. He did not take a toe. He didn't take an eyebrow. He took a rib. What you think is the importance of this whole concept of the rib? Elder Shaw, you go, and Elder Ezra after you. You are muted, Elder Shaw. You are muted.
Okay, good night, everybody. Whatever platform you may be, good night. Here we are. Why did God use a rib? Well, as I see it, the rib comes from the side of the man. God created a companion for Adam. That tells us that both the male and the female, according to the Lord's eyes, were on an equal platform. That is, they were supposed to be treated in the same manner. They were both important to God. They were both important to each other. They were supposed to love and cherish each other the same way. The man, yes, being the head of the family, God did not make him head so that it could be an autocratic government. And that's hence the reason for taking the rib from the side of the man and not from the toe or from the head. Toe probably would have given the indication that I could lord it over you and do what I want. Head means the woman could have the feeling, well, I came from the head, so I can lord it over you. But from the side meant that they were equal. Arrested.
All right. Elder Ezra, you go ahead.
Yes, good evening to everyone. And on that question, uh, sometimes we try to answer questions. What was in God's mind? But we can only speculate, and we can reason, and sometimes we come up with some reasonable answers. Like Brother Shaw said, um, God could have made Eve from the dust of the ground
That's correct.
without taking anything from Adam. But I think that God wanted Adam to have a feeling of belonging, that Eve belonged to him, to his side. That is why he could say that's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, because she was taken from me. She came from my side, so that she would be on his side. Um, in discussion, I asked a question: Why did God use a rib and not a brain, piece of the brain, or a side of the heart? And someone answered that had he used a brain, piece of the brain, the woman would say, I am smarter than you, you have no brain. And the man would blame the woman for taking part of his brain. You know, there are so many answers that could come here, but I think taking the rib gives the indication that the woman belongs to the side of the man. Shows a sign of equal management of the affairs. We also have to tie it in with the helpmate situation, because God, I believe God created us with the need for companion, and the topic of who is better than one comes in clearly here, because most times we need somebody to confirm our decision. If you want to buy something, you would ask your wife what you think about that. If you want to make a decision, you need somebody to confirm whether you're making the right decision. And I think Adam had so much a great job to do that he would need confirmation from a human being like himself. Am I giving this animal the right name? What do you think about it? We still do that today. So coming from the side of the man, the rib puts the woman on equal platform with the man.
All right, thank you very much, Elder Ezra. And so I hear from those who responded to the question that there was an issue of equality in person, because even if the rib was taken from the man, it was God who created the woman. The man did not create the woman. But I want to go to the next part, that we realize that God did not name the woman. God formed the woman, but he did not name her. He brought the woman to Adam. Now, Ella Collier, what is the value of God not naming the woman and giving the man the opportunity to name the woman himself? Let me hear you on that, and I will come back to the rest of the panelists. The whole idea of God not naming the woman, but allowing the man to name the woman. Ella Collier, are you there?
I'm there, but Pastor, you can go hard one for me.
Listen, we are reflecting. Just reflect on why you think it is. So that is, we sharing our opinion on the thing, you know. As we said, as was said earlier, we ask questions. We can't read the mind of God, but we trying to reason in the context of family. So go ahead.
I believe that God wanted Adam to be part of the decision making.
Okay.
Yeah. So he gave him an opportunity to name the animals, also name the woman that he made.
Okay. So let me ask you another question now. We
Yeah.
realize that God created all the animals, and he took nothing from Adam to create the animals. But when he came to the woman, he took something from Adam to create the animals. And Adam named the animals, and he had nothing of him. The animals had nothing of him. But when he came to the woman, he was to name the woman, but she had something of him. And the text said that he was in a deep sleep. But his results seem to suggest that he was aware as to she was something that, or someone that looked like him and felt like him. And so the whole idea was that there was a value in this woman that was not found in the animals. You agree that?
I agree with that, of course.
All right. And so Sister Florence, as the lady, I come back to you now. The whole idea of the rib being taken from the man to make the woman. What does that say to the woman as it relates to how she relates to the man? And I'll ask a man the opposite to the question I just asked you.
Well, Pastor, she have to love her husband, love the man.
Mm-hmm.
So love is key. She have to love the man. They have to express intimacy. She have to as the Bible says, he's the head of the home. So she would assist him in whatever he has to do.
Okay.
So therefore, she's like a support to him, like his support system, if as you would see. Okay. So women have an affection, say they have a special affection. So there they will be able to, and being able to understand the man. Because sometimes men do things, maybe that is just how they were created. But the women always have something about them in terms of financial management, in terms of taking care of the home and all these things. There is also something special about women. And that is why God created the woman to assist or to help the man in being able to function. All right. To ensure that his roles, the functioning of the home, even in the church, in the community, wherever he's whatever he's doing. So God created the woman just to help him, to support him, to be a support system, with the man.
All right. Thank you very much, Sister Florence. Ella Paris, this one is to you. The reverse to the question I just asked Sister Florence. The whole idea about what information, how does it inform a man in terms of how he treats the woman, in that the rib was taken from him to make her? How does that inform a man in terms of his relationship to this woman?
Oh, well, I can only speak from my family experience, which might not be relevant or applicable to other people's situation. In my house, I regard my wife as my equal.
Okay. They tell you about your family. They tell you how, according to the scripture.
Hello?
Let me just, before you continue, Ella Paris, please ensure your mics are muted, except when you're speaking. It creates a lot of feedback to the person who is speaking. Go ahead, Ella Paris.
Oh yeah, so I say I can only speak from my personal experience in my own family setting. It might not be applicable to other situations, but this is it. In my house, I think my wife is equal to me, of equal status, but we have different roles.
All right.
In my house, my wife is responsible for certain things, and I'm responsible for certain things. And I learned to respect my wife for doing things that, well, they look easy for a woman, but they're not easy for a man, because my wife leave me at home to take care of the children for the day, and she go to Roseau, and I have to cook and attend to children and keep them. And then, I mean, it'll drive me crazy just for one day. So I respect her. I respect her for what she brought to the table. Our role is different, and so I respect her for it. I expect her to respect me for my role as well. Okay. For example, we made 4 children, but I never got pregnant for none, because it's not my role to get pregnant in my family. Okay. Okay. So she's the one that was getting pregnant, and I respect her. I respect her for that. Okay. Because I really wanted the children, but I couldn't get pregnant for them, so somebody had to do it to bring the children for us. So I have the utmost regard for her, and I when they were born, I couldn't breastfeed them either. True. And the antenatal care that a baby would need, the science and skill of changing diapers and washing clothes and cuddling children. And in the night when the child have a problem and the child wake up in the night, they never call daddy, always call mommy. And so all these kind of things, a sensible man have to respect that kind of contribution that a woman makes to his family to make it stable and to make it successful. And those are the things that are just on the surface. There are many, many other things that a woman brings to the table. So in my family setting now, I respect my wife highly for that. And so I also respect my wife for the way she took care of my kids and how they come out, because I was never there. I would also conclude and agree that she understands the contribution I make as well, and she respects me for it. That's why we're still together. That's why we're still together.
You very much. Thank you very much, Ella Paris. I want to take that and bring it in the context of this family togetherness thing we're talking about. And that next question is to you, Ella Shaw. We see that the woman, something was taken from the man to create the woman. And when that was done, she was considered and called, she was called woman, and she was Adam's helpmate. But when we go forward, when we go back rather than forward, we realize that Adam was given a specific assignment outside of everything else he was to do. His primary assignment was to be fruitful and replenish his kind that God had given him the authority to replenish. And so Adam couldn't do it in and of himself, so God gave him a helpmate. Now, in your estimation, Elisha, what is it you think is the most fundamental responsibility of the family? You are muted again.
I think getting hot.
Before I take that, I just want to go back a bit. I want to make a couple of points here. One, all of what we are talking about is from a holy couple. Let's not lose sight of that. A holy couple just from the hand of God.
Okay.
No sin is in the world.
Hey, how are you?
Okay? And that sets up
You enjoying the program?
apart.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Two.
I just come to check, make sure that.
Adam.
Okay. Well, we'll talk.
The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 5 and verse 2, male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. You notice the pronoun here, plural. The personal pronoun is plural. One name Adam, but it says their name. So we already know Eve was inside of Adam when God created Adam. Okay? So all God had to do was, there's a distraction with somebody's camera. All God had to do was to take the rib, form Eve, because Eve was already in Adam. Now, God says to Adam, Adam says, this is now bone of my bone. God made Adam with a high level of communicating skills, because God had to communicate with Adam. Flesh and blood did not reveal to Adam what Adam said. That had to come from the spirit with the brain that God had given Adam to communicate with him. So here we have Adam saying, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, because Adam was asleep when God made Eve. So how did he know that? God had to put that in Adam. Now, going back a little bit earlier, we talked about Adam and the animals, and Sister Florence said that he needed one of his kind. And that is so, because Adam could not procreate with any other that was not of his kind, because God had already said everything must bring forth after his kind. And there was no kind for Adam. God had to make a human kind for Adam to obey the law, to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish. So God put Adam and Eve right there with the primary responsibility of fathering and mothering the human race. And that was their primary responsibility. Everything else was important, would have been important, and come after that. So in order for that to take place, Eve had to love Adam unconditionally. Adam had to love Eve unconditionally. And they had to treat each other as equals. And coming down to their roles and function now, Adam's function could not be carried out by Eve, like Elder Paris said. Adam's function could not have been carried out by Eve, and Eve's function could not have been carried out by Adam. But Adam remained the head of the race, and the populating of the human race was fully dependent on Adam as the man. So the family was supposed to fill the earth. That was their primary responsibility.
Okay, thank you very much, Elder Shaw. So this question is for Elder Collier. I'm building on this whole theme of, so they had a primary responsibility of being fruitful and multiply. So they were to reproduce the image that God had given them, their kind. Now,
Pastor,
yes, Elder Sandros.
there's a distraction on the screen. Ursula and Benjamin, her mic is on and her video is on. It's distracting. Would you ask the person to get the host to turn it off or something?
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can.
Has been done.
Go ahead, Pastor. Go ahead. It's okay.
All right. Okay, so Elder Collier, is a marriage a marriage if it does not bring forth children? Given, going back to the original understanding that the mandate that God gave to man was that they were to be fruitful and multiply and reproduce themselves. And I am not speaking to the persons who may be unable to bear children, but I'm speaking in the context that two persons decide to get married, but for career purposes or whatever purposes, they say, we're not having children. Is that a violation of the rule of thumb when God gave Adam the helpmate? Elder Collier, it seems I'm giving you all the hard questions.
Yeah, it really seems to give me all the questions. Well, today, because of sin, why you find that in some marriages there's no children. If God commanded that to be fruitful and multiply, that goes for every individual. Only because of sin why you don't have children in marriage family today. So if there was no sin, this thing would continue. Every family would have children. Every marriage have children.
All right, Sister Florence, you the lady now. Elder Paris made a salient point. He talked about he's had 4 children, but he's never carried one a day. And it's his wife who has carried his children. Now, I'm asking you, I put you on the spot now. In a world where people like women and they are career minded, they get married and they have the whole idea that some persons have the feeling that if they have children, they are denying themselves the ability to go as far as they can go career-wise. Should, in your estimation, should a Christian woman, well, let me say Seventh-day Adventist woman, make a decision like that to choose to further her career by not, as a married person though, by choosing not to have children because it may be a hindrance to her personal career? And how do you see that? How do you see that in the context of, just like how the Lord say, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, and if you're not observing the Sabbath, you violating the principle. And so if you're married and you choose not to have children because of reasons career-wise, can you say that it falls in the vein of somebody being a Christian and choosing not to observe the Sabbath because it's not convenient for them? Asking you a hard question.
Pastor, this is a hard one. Well, Pastor, everybody have their views, their own perception on having children.
Right.
So I'm not in a position to even say they should or they should not.
Right.
But I know the Bible says that the children are the heritage of the Heavenly Father.
All right now.
So therefore, and based on what Brother Shaw said in terms of procreation and whatever, God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. We expect to see the earth replenish. We expect to see babies being born, persons being born. So how are we going to continue? So how if all women, Christian women, choose their career over making a child, how my son going to get a wife?
Well, good question.
And how my daughter going to get a husband?
Good point.
Or how we can look at it in the world, in the context of the world. So therefore, if we just stop thinking of having children and career, what about what God says to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, make more of your kind, ensure that the world is there is plenty fools, there are persons in the world. So if you doing career, you choosing your career, so at a point there will be nobody to continue. I'm getting educated, Okay. Because at a point, at my age, nice. I may still want to continue school because I'm young. I'm still young and I can continue.
Praise the Lord.
But if say my daughter decide, and my daughter and persons in her same age group decide that they are not having children and they are only about career, what after them? Who is there to continue? And then we look at how the lifespan that persons are dying. Who replacing them? So this question is kind of it depends on the person.
Okay. All right.
It depends on the person.
So let me a male perspective. Ella Paris, the same question. The whole idea of when I remember a lady was telling me, a church member, she was saying, a woman only gets pregnant when she chooses to get pregnant. It doesn't matter what the man say or do. the woman only get pregnant when she chooses to get pregnant. And so as if, well, it came across as if that this woman has the autonomy over reproduction. And so same question to you, the whole idea about a woman choosing a career and at the detriment of being a mother, of producing a child. What is your take on that, El Paris?
Well, I believe that a married couple is at liberty to decide whether they want to procreate or not.
Okay.
The Bible sanctions their union by saying their marriage is honorable.
Right.
Their bed is undefiled.
Right.
And in that regard, I believe whether they procreate or not, because they choose not to, or they can't, their marriage is still honorable and their bed is still undefiled. In my case, however, if I would have known that the lady I'm going to marry to can't make children, very sadly, I would have to advise her that both of us would be happier joining our lives to somebody else.
Okay.
Because from my upbringing, my childhood and experience, and so I have to be around people, particularly children. I have to be around children.
Okay.
I cannot. My life cannot be the same thing without a child around me. And so something hit me in my life that I wasn't ready for. I didn't understand that as a young husband. I thought my children was going to be with me for longer, but when Lorian and Louise end up in university at the same time, and my house began to come empty, and I realized they're not coming back, I said, what is this? You know, and then these children are big now. They don't have time with me. They're about their own business, and so I have to have a child. And God, the other day, sent Elton. And then when Elton was no there, he sent Shiloh. So now I have Shiloh. So in my particular case, they would be avoiding my own life if I did not have a child around me, or if I didn't have children. I wouldn't want to be in a marriage where I don't have children. But that's my choice. And I think my wife share the same thing too. Having said that, I would say there are some married couples who should not have children. There's some married couples who should not make children, because from the lifestyle that they adopt and choose and construct, they don't have time for children. They haven't got the temperament, they haven't got the attitude to take care of children. They have children and they still believe it's somebody else's responsibility to spend quality time with the child, because they're on the run with their career, on the run with their business, they're busy, they're everything like that. And it's other people that have to take care of the child for them. And I always felt, and this is another thing I respect my wife for, how she invested and dedicated her whole life in taking care of my 4 children, because I always felt if she had to leave them for another woman, I would leave my wife and go and meet that woman, because the most important woman is the woman that's taking care of my children. So, no, I mean, I'm serious. If I have 4 children and my wife finds she too busy to take care of them and she give them to another woman to take care of, I go and live with the other woman, because the other woman seen the value of my children. My wife seen the value in something else. So the thing is here, I'm saying, I come back to my point. I feel a married couple is at liberty to decide whether they want to make children or not. But I also submit that from my experience, what I've seen and what I come to know, some married couples should never have children. They should not have made them, because they don't have time for them.
Appreciate that, Elo Paris. Thank you.
That's not my contribution to that. I want to make a contribution.
Just now. I will allow you make that contribution. Somebody made a comment. Somebody made a comment in the chat saying that it would be nice to hear the view of a young person on the platform on that particular question. And so if there's a young person on the platform who wants to make a contribution on that question that I was asked, which Ella Paris and Sister Florence responded to. After Ella Ezra, the floor is yours. Just raise your hand and you will get the opportunity to give some feedback on that. Ella Ezra, you go.
You know, just this morning I was looking at my community and my close vicinity. Let's say 100 yard up and 100 yard down. And I was telling my wife, you know, in the next 20 years, this place is going to be abandoned.
Whoa.
And that's the reality, because I am 67 and most people around 50. Lizra alone at home, and Lizra might go just now. No children around the place. So 20 years from now, that area going to be abandoned. Mm-hmm. And that is a serious problem that I see we face in Dominica, the lack of procreation in an organized way, not just making children haywire, but in a family setting. I remember when we were young, growing up, we had 10 at home at any one time. The neighbor had 6 and the neighbor up the road had 8. And it was so nice growing up with, you know, in family. I believe God placed importance on family. When I got the shock of my life as a young man, reading Bible year, and when we got somewhere in the family of Jacob, there was a young man that decided they had a culture. If a brother married to a woman, and he dies, the other brother have to marry.
Correct.
And if he dies, the other brother has to marry. So in that family, the brother died, and another brother came up and said, man, I'm not going to make children with this woman, because they're not going to be my children, they're going to be my brother's children. So he threw his sperm on the ground.
Correct.
And God was very displeased with him, and God knocked him out. Yeah. So people deciding on their own that what God give them, they don't want to use it in the way that God expect them to use it. God is displeased with them. I believe, like Sister Florence said, and it's a good quote, my father always used to say that, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. There are times when a woman is barren, and God also have pity on those barren women, and if they pray to him, as did Hannah and Sarah, they would bear. When we look at the definition of a wife is a woman who God has given to a man. I thought you would come up with that question, but when God presented Eve to Adam, that was a gift to Adam. That's why God didn't let Adam find her. God presented her to Adam. And in the wise man Solomon says, he that findeth a wife, findeth a good thing. Not a woman, because there's a difference between a woman and a wife. He that findeth a wife, findeth a good thing. And Proverbs 30:31 describe who a wife is. A wife bears children, she takes care of children, she assists the husband, she manages the home, So I believe procreation is part of God's plan until the earth made new.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you very much. You ran ahead of me on that question about the wife and the woman part, but they're coming. I do not want us to undervalue the statement Ella Paris made in relation to some persons. I think the whole idea, what I think in essence he was saying is that parenting comes with rights. We have the right to have children, but children come with responsibilities. And a lot of persons may feel the right, but may not necessarily embrace the responsibility. And as a result of that, there's a certain kind of a chaos that is caused in society. There's a certain kind of a chaos that threatens even the very fabric of our humanity when children go unattended, when there seem to be the absence of discipline according to the formula and the expectation that God had when he gave mankind the franchise of reproducing his image in them. And so yes, we will not all agree on, but I think based on the word, the fundamental thing is that Adam had a specific task, and that task was to reproduce the image of God by being fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. All right, Elder Shaw, this one is for you. Elder Ezra opened the door, so we entering in. God created a woman, but Adam made her a wife. Because when you read the Genesis account, like I read, it says that God took the woman which was his helpmate and brought to him. And then when he gets to Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24, he said, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife. So Elder Shaw, let's go down that road. What is
before Elder Shaw goes past, you have some reasons there, I think.
I did say
you should accommodate them, please.
Thank you very much, Elder Paris. Thank you very much. I did ask that persons raise their hand. And so let's go. If your hand is raised, you can go ahead and speak. One after the other. Because I am not, Elder Shaw, can you help me with that? Because I'm not seeing the hands.
Yes, there's Joseph, Steve, and there's Pastor JC. Steve was up first.
All right, so Steve, you go ahead. Okay, so while Steve...
His mic is muted. If he's speaking, his mic is muted.
All right, so if Steve is speaking and your mic is muted, unmute it, please, and go ahead and make your contribution. Okay, so while we're waiting, if Pastor Jason is ready, he can go. Steve will come after.
And then there's Jerome after.
Yes, Pastor.
Okay, there's Steve.
Go ahead.
I'm here.
All right, go ahead.
Earlier, I heard the sister talk about careers. What if your career doesn't work and your time pass for having a child and you no want a child? What is going to happen? both the husband and the wife. What is going to happen? Because remember, it's not all career that will be successful.
Well, it's
true. What if you don't know the time for you to make one you want one now? What is going to happen?
I can't answer that question. That is a question that the family will have to answer. And that answer can go in all kind of directions. And so it is. I think the question you ask is a valuable question because it allows us to prioritize what in our mind may be important or unimportant. Because you can always put your career at whatever age you want, but you can always have children because childbearing comes childbearing is time sensitive for a woman. There's a window that closes, and when it's closed, it does not get open again. And so I think that contribution there tells us that is something you have to pay keen attention to. So thank you very much. Pastor, who was the person? Pastor who?
JC. JC.
Okay, so go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are in you clearly.
Yes.
Wonderful. In relation, I don't think I'm the youngest of persons to answer, but as you ask for younger people, um, it is important to have balance in our lives. And relating what you just said, Pastor, to what Ella Parry said earlier, in terms of thinking about children, it's important to look at, for example, the reproductive years of the wife and or even the health of husband and wife in certain respects, in certain regards. And to understand as well, when the child or children come around, whether we can balance the responsibility of taking care of the children and also providing for them, so that may determine within the context of the couple the number of children that they may want to have. Having said that as well, if I remember when you started, you went to Genesis, and Elder Shaw mentioned earlier that was the perfect environment, the perfect setting. So while a couple today may not be able to biologically reproduce, there are other alternatives where they can actually have children with their family, foster parenting, for example, or adoption.
Okay.
Now we do have the scientific method of artificial insemination. You know, that is, some people are for. There's the pros and cons against it. But I had that discussion with our kids the other day because I found it was very important. We were looking at the replacement theory of the generation and adding to the generation. And so I asked each of my kids, well, how many children would you like to have? And I was sharing with my first son, if you get married and you and your wife have only 2 children, you're really not adding to the generation.
Correct.
You're just replacing yourself.
Correct.
So in order to really add to the generation, you need to make at least 3 children.
Correct.
You replace yourself, your husband and wife replace themselves, and 1 child to add to the generation.
Correct.
But these are discussions that I'm so happy it's raised in the church that we should have more and discuss with our individual children. One of the things that we've seen in the United States, for example, with the evolution of contraceptives in the 50s and 60s, especially targeting, people of color and the white folks, then it's a problem now because for the first time in American history, the white millennials and the Generation X's are concerned about becoming the minority. And the reason why they're concerned about becoming the minority is because they sort of limit the number of children they had in the 50s and 60s. And now the hen is coming home to roost.
Okay.
So these are very important subject matter. There's a great push and animosity towards the Latino community, towards the Black community, because statistically, it's showing that on current projection by 2052, the Latino population would be the majority population within the United States.
That's correct.
So those are really questions and discussions that we need to have to understand, yes, it is important to have a career, but really and truly at the end, the back end of your career, if you have no one to leave an inheritance to, if you have no one from you to take care of, those are really questions that, that we should consider and discuss.
Thank you so much. Are there any other hands, Elder Shaw?
Brother Jerome. Jerome.
All right, Elder Jerome, go.
Okay, good night to everyone.
Good night.
Yeah, Pastor Jesse made some powerful comments there, which I don't want to go into again. But if someone is doing wrong, the best thing for them to do is to do right. If someone is irresponsible, the best thing for them to be is to be irresponsible.
Okay.
All right. We're talking about people, okay, there are ladies, women who cannot bring forth children because of some conditions. We can understand that. But someone who deliberately decide that they will put their career over children, I believe that is a selfish act.
Okay.
That's just my personal thoughts, right?
Yeah, is your personal view on that? Yes.
All right. The thing is, yes, there are different things you have to take in consideration. Probably, yes, the person might have a condition, probably the person age old, but if a person is, they are within childbearing, and I believe it is good to give somebody else a chance to live.
Hey, that's a nice one. That's a nice one.
All right?
Yes, hello.
And I believe the thing is, there is something in a wife. She's supposed to be a mother. And if she, all right, sorry, I don't know how to phrase that, but the thing is, if someone who decide not to have children, that is their choice. But in the end, I believe they'll be missing out. Yeah, there'll be a void in their life.
Okay.
Because God said to be fruitful and multiply and replenish. So if I consider that a selfish act to put career above children, and the best thing I find is if people who decide to do that will only give it a chance and have children, that will help them eradicate selfishness in their life. That is my personal thinking.
All right, thank you very much, Elder
You don't have to agree with that, but I believe everybody know what is good for them. I can't tell you not to do it or to do it, but I believe to put career over children, that is selfishness.
All right, thank you.
Pastor, I believe this is a discussion that we need to have and to educate our people, because like Pastor JC said, what is happening to the United States now, that's what is going to happen to us in Dominica, and was with the biggest industry going to be, or money-making business going to be senior citizens' home, because some people will not have anybody to take care of them when they get home. Well, they might have the career, yes. They might have their possessions, yes. They have nobody to inherit it. Or they don't know who to leave it to. And they will have nobody to take care of them. So their possession would have to go to a home and to pay for their care in their senior years.
Okay. I think this is
Pastor Fernand?
Just a better Paris, just before you go. I think we are just scratching the surface. We're just scratching the surface, and it's a discussion that we must have so that everybody can be informed, so then it helps them in decision making. So I'm gonna entertain Elder Paris, and then I'm going back to Elder Shaw, because it's 8:25, and we want to do one last question, and then we can open the floor for the persons who have questions to ask the questions or make their contribution. Elder Paris, go.
Okay, Pastor. So in my view, the angle that our discussion has taken for the last few minutes, it puts a sociological and socioeconomic complexion on the discussion.
Okay.
But I cannot find any clear condemnation in the scripture, in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot find any clear condemnation in the Bible for couples who choose not to have children by choice. So I would just want to let you know what my position is on that.
Fair enough.
I cannot find any clear condemnation in the Bible for a married couple who choose not to have children. So biblically, I cannot rule against them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the sociological, socioeconomic perspectives that we have placed there is valid, it's solid, it's relevant, it makes sense. So from that perspective, we can say, yeah, the person is selfish, this, it's foolishness of doing the career, all the way you make from the career when you come to your old age, you don't know where you leave it for, and the government ought to get it. And so, yeah, it doesn't make no sense to me. I wouldn't like to be like that either. But then from a biblical perspective, I cannot rule against them.
Okay. Right. Fair enough. Listen, brethren, this thing is opening doors and windows for us in terms of our discussions and things we can plan for. So we're not gonna exhaust that. that will happen in its due season. So now let me go back to Elder Shaw. And this is where we're going to close, we're going to wrap up for tonight, because as I say, time, and I know we can say a lot of things. Elder Shaw, God brought to Adam a woman, and Adam made her a wife. And it was necessary that Adam make her a wife, because it is obvious that part of the plan that Adam had to fulfill, the part of the prerequisite was that she needed to move from being a woman to being a wife, so as the mandate of being fruitful and multiply could be realized. So, Elder Shaw, what is the difference between a married woman and a wife? You get in the hardest question for the night, and the rest of the panelists will deliberate on it as we bring this thing down to an end. What is the difference between a married woman and a wife?
Okay, let me see if I can handle this one. A wife is the companion, the helper, the mother of the children, the female part that is responsible for procreation and spreading the human race.
Okay.
The wife is the one who governs the home.
Mm-hmm.
What again? You can have a married woman who is not a wife.
Okay.
And I'm going to give a very clear example that nobody can fight. You have today what we call separation.
Mm-hmm.
When a man and a woman are separated, she's still married.
Correct.
But she's not the man's wife. She does not perform any wifely duties in the home or to that man.
Okay.
So we can have married people. And even if they're not separated legally,
mm-hmm.
we have instances where you have a husband in the house together with the wife. They talk, but they do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no sexual intimacy going on.
Okay.
Once you have a husband and a wife, all things being equal, there must be sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Because that is what God who made sex. And God gave sex to demonstrate to husband and wife the closeness of the relationship. As a matter of fact, the sexual intimacy is the only thing that can dimly represent the unity of the Godhead. And that is why God gave it to man, so that with this, they can demonstrate the unity that is supposed to be in the family, representing God.
Good answer.
So you can have wives and you can have women, or you can have married women who are not wives, but all wives are married women.
Oh. All right. Adam makes a pointed statement in the end. He says the whole idea of the one flesh. The whole idea of the one flesh. The one flesh. So marriage is about becoming one flesh. And so as long as two persons are not able to experience that one flesh, and that's a process growing, building into that. So as long as two persons are unable to realize that that element of being married but not wife. That whole element lingers there. And so it was important, and I want to hear everybody's view on that. We watched the context in which reproduction was to take place. Adam did not have children with the woman that God gave him. Adam had children with the wife that he chose. It is important that we remember that. And so in the context of family togetherness, the fundamental pillar of family togetherness is one of one flesh. The whole idea about procreation, yes, but procreation in a given context. And that context, as it relates to procreation, is in the one flesh context. So it goes back to something Elder Parry said, the whole idea about certain people shouldn't have children, because outside of that context, you have children, but they are not to the expectation or to the measurement that God intended, because the context in which you are now reproducing does not meet the standard that God has established for those children to come forth. And so as we wrap this thing up and we talk about togetherness, what in all, and that is for all the panelists, the whole idea about what is the greatest contribution that a spouse can make to their relationship in this whole idea of being fruitful and multiply. And I do not want you to just limit your answer to having children, but I also want you to go past having children and the whole idea about the responsibility of nurturing and caring for those children according to the model that we see that God gave Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And after the panelists make their view, we'll open the floor so that we can hear from everybody. So by 9 o'clock, all willing, we should be rounding up. Elder Paris, you go.
Yes, Pastor. I had a guy working with me. He had a real nice girlfriend. She would bring his lunch for him, and she was a real pleasant soul. So I say, boy, Clement, you don't marry the girl? Not yet, now, Mr. Paris. I said, so what are you waiting for, boy? Why you a nice girl like that? Sometimes she come in there with you when she have day off and she's staying on you with the job, I give you a job, she helping you to work and all, and I say she kneeling them up for you. But Clement pulled me aside, tell me, Mr. Paris, let me tell you about a problem I have now. Boy, I married a girl a long time, but I have an issue there because I do a kind of married there, Mr. Paris with a Spanish. In a business transaction, I mean, we didn't have nothing, but she said, I married to her, she pay me, and we go separate ways. So he said, to rectify that now, he's taking me some kind of challenges to rectify that before I get married. Oh boy. So yeah, that's one thing. So Clement couldn't marry the girl because Clement was married, but he didn't have a wife. Yeah. So there's this, yeah, you can be married and do have a wife. Yeah. And yeah, you can have a woman also, not your wife. In recent times though, a married man told me that his wife told him that being a mother and a wife is not her priority. Whoa. Now, I mean, for a woman to tell that to her husband, I just see that is plenty trouble. Whoa. So when you're living in a house together, you're lawfully married to each other. You live in a house together. And your wife will tell you that. You have a few things to think about. Plenty. Finally, I'll give you the story that I read. Is this guy who fought in the Vietnam War. He had a very serious accident. And his genitals were, he got injury to his genitals. He never told his fiancée.
Oh my
He conducted himself as a very decent young man during their engagement and everything like that. But they got married, and the night the marriage could not be consummated. So the young lady got frustrated and go back to the pastor the next day and tell him what happened. The pastor tell her to bring the certificate for him. He taking it, tear it up. He say, your marriage can't be consummated, so you can never be married. You just go back to the registry and they cancel the wedding. So there is a difference between woman and wife.
Thank you very much, Ella Paris. Thank you. Sister Florence, let me hear you.
She's muted.
Sister Florence, unmute your mic and speak.
Yes, sorry. I thought I was unmuted.
That's all right.
Okay. Before I got married, I was in a relationship. I did not have my child as yet. I was expecting my son. And so I had a neighbor that told me she got married. Well, she was a married person. But what she said to me is that before she got married, she was active, she was involved, she was assisting, she was helping her boyfriend or her fiancé or her spouse. She would cook, she would send the children, prepare the children for school, prepare his lunch, go to the garden, bring his lunch for him, help him in the garden, come back. You know, it was okay. But I was not married. So I was not married as yet. And this is what a married person told me.
Right.
But after she got married, she stopped everything. So her only responsibility was to take care of her children, send the children to school, but she would not go to the garden anymore. She would not prepare the meals to bring to the garden. Now, I was a single person, and that is what she said to me. But I did not take it on. I did not take that on because although I was young, but I realized that was danger. Right. And contemplating marriage or knowing that one of these I would get married, I would not want to bring that into a relationship.
Nice.
That I would not want to, because if I bring that into a relationship, I know it's one day married, next day separation. Mm-hmm. But I believe marriage comes with maturity. True. As a wife, you have to be mature. If you know that you are not ready for marriage, leave marriage. If you are not mature, because it's responsibility, you have to take care of your children, you have to take care of the home. So the home means cleaning, washing, cooking, taking care of the children, going and do errands, and still have to ensure that your husband is satisfied. And there are so many other things that you need to do. As the Bible said in Genesis 2 and verse 24, the man should live and he should cleave. A boy cannot live and cleave. Mm. He's a mature person that can live and cleave. Somebody that mature in mind, in everything, is a holistic thing. So if you contemplate in marriage, you want to start a new life, you have to be ready to go into it, because it calls for responsibility. So as a wife, you have to ensure you are responsible. You know what you are going into. And it's not just saying I'm married. It's not the phrase of but I'm married. It's not that anymore. It's about you being ready, you being prepared to go into, because this is a lifetime commitment. Unfortunately, some persons, it have gone wrong for them. It gone wrong for them. But for those that it is still there, put God first in everything you do. God is the ultimate person. If you put God at the helm, you will get it. Not to say it will be a bed of roses. It will not be a bed of roses, but with God, with understanding, commitment, things will work out for you. So as the Bible says, to live, to cleave, and to just enjoy your life with your spouse.
All right. Thank you very much, Sister Florence. Ella Collier, the whole idea about the same question, but I want to focus on the contribution. Somebody is putting in the chat that the responsibilities are both for man and woman, and that's true. Both parties need to know what their responsibilities are. But I go back to that question, the fundamental question in terms of your priority. What, in your estimation, is the fundamental priority of a married couple? Ella Collier, you there?
Pastor, you have some raised hands, so you need to recognize them.
Okay, I'll do that after. Ella Collier, finish up so I can take the hands. Ella Shore, watch the hands and tell me who go in when and where. Is Ella Collier there?
While we wait for Ella Collier, I could come in, Pastor.
Just Ella Ezra. Let me take the hands. So hold a while, because there are hands that were raised. Ella Shaw, let's go with the hands.
Sister Tusa first, then Brother St. Rose, and now I see Brother Jerome again.
All right. Sister Tusa, go.
I don't know. Okay, apparently Sister Tusa is not there. St. Rose.
Okay, Ella St. Rose. Ella St. Rose.
His mic is muted.
Unmute your mic, please.
Okay, it's on. It was giving me some problems, Pastor.
Now.
Pastor, I just want to make a comment there tonight. The discussion is going on good. We have a lot of discussions going on, but I tend to disagree with a statement made by one of the panelists, Brother Paris, that he has no biblical grounds to say that a married woman must have children. So I just want to refer us to Genesis chapter 1, 26 to 28. What does that text say? When God tells us to do something, it's not a command.
What does it say, Ella St. Rose?
You want me to read it?
Go ahead, read it.
It says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, God created him. Male and female, God created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Mm-hmm. Isn't this a command? I want clarification.
That was a command given to Adam and Eve, yes.
So isn't this biblical proof or biblical footing for us to say that as long as a man and a woman is married and everything is normal biologically, they should have children?
No, it's not biblical proof.
I don't know. I want clarification on that.
Respond to that, Ella Price. Defend your position.
No, the statement I made is that I said I cannot find any clear condemnation in the Bible for a couple who choose not to have children. I didn't confuse it with the command that was given by God in Genesis, and the command that was given by God in Genesis that Brother St. Rose read is not a clear condemnation.
No, but if
no. Listen, I'm saying what you read in Genesis is not a clear condemnation of a couple who choose not to have children.
Listen, I qualify it, by saying that if everything is normal biologically, and you choose to have children because of career purposes or profession or so forth, this is a violation of God's command.
No, that's a sociological point you're making.
That's not sociological.
All right,
that's not biblical. The Bible doesn't condemn anybody for not having children.
Listen.
Okay,
No.
I don't hang up on that.
The conversation has now started. We laying ground. And so in subsequent programs, we will come to that. But for now, we're gonna leave it at that.
Okay, Pastor, one last statement. Those are common have to say thou shall not.
As I said, Elder St. Rose, in subsequent program, we'll come to that. So for now, we're gonna leave it at that. We're laying foundations. So let's leave it at that for now.
Next hand is M.
Who is M?
I don't know.
M, you go ahead.
Yes, good night, brethren.
Oh, Sister Farber.
The discussion tonight, there are certain pointers or certain points that I made. Relating to Brother Paris's statement, the Bible doesn't condemn people for not having children. And this command was given to Adam and Eve. Now, it depends on the age that people married that this command is for them. So if it was a command all across the board, it doesn't matter what age you are, it would be wrong. But God doesn't condemn people. Now, every woman was made to be married. Was every woman made to be a wife? These are some questions that we have to take note of. The other thing is, children are a heritage of the Lord. So all your faculties may be working all right, but God is the one who gives children. And the man or the male determines the sex of the child.
Okay.
And the responsibility,
sorry.
The prime responsibility of the family is to prepare people or to prepare a family for heaven. And this is the prime responsibility of the family, is to make disciples for Christ within your family. And this is the responsibility, the prime responsibility of the parents who have children.
All right.
And the responsibility of the home is not only for the woman, it is for both sexes, the male and the female. And men are to wash too, and men are to cook. Because if the woman is sick or the woman cannot do anything, the man will starve and stay hungry, or he will not feed his wife. These are questions that we have to put properly, because when we put different roles, women to wash, clean, and cook, women are not slaves in the home. They are co-partners, equal partners in the home, because women go to the garden, to help their husband in the field, or if they are working elsewhere, they work and bring in finance to help with the family finances. So why not the men help to cook and to wash and to iron?
All right, brethren. Let me recap a bit, because I do not want to go down this slippery slope. What we were looking at tonight, we're looking at the genesis of the family. And so we're looking at the directives. We're looking at the directives that God gave. We're looking at the directive that God gave to Adam and Eve, and how we created the foundation, and how that foundation ought to inform the present day family. And so we're not going into the sociological parts yet. We're not there yet. On Friday night, we will drift a little to that. But for now, we're dealing with the ideals. And out of the ideals, we can recognize and recommend how families can operate and what is the whole idea of family togetherness. So I would appreciate if we not go down the sociological part yet. It will eventually come. And if we do not get to the place where we accomplish that on Friday evening, we will, as was said by Elder Ezra, there are dynamics that we have not considered as yet, that we will consider, and our discussion will come out of it. And so let us work within the context that we are in. All right.
Pastor,
are you there now? Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Let me just say this before we take the rest of the hands. I thought somewhere along the line we moved away from what we were supposed to have been discussing because we are looking at the Genesis, and that is why all of those now sociological questions have. And at the beginning I pointed out we were looking at a holy couple. Once sin entered, the dynamics changed, and we're dealing now with marriage, not from the holy couple. The sin from the time sin entered, and that just gives us two different perspectives altogether. So I just thought I would say that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because on Friday.
Can Brother Shaw repeat himself, please, because I'm not clear what he said.
All right, Elder Shaw, repeat yourself.
I said
clearly.
Somewhere along the line, we drifted from the original topic of the genesis of the family and brought in now the socio-economic situation, the sociological aspect of the marriage after sin. We were dealing with the Genesis before sin. That is why we know.
Well said, Elder Shaw. You heard him clearly, sister, to say this time?
Yes, I did.
All right, thank you. And brethren, as I said, this is a process. The whole idea was laying foundation. So then when we lay foundation tonight, when we get to Friday night in the panel, we would see how mankind has deviated from the original blueprint. And so we were laying foundations tonight. And I suspect with what happened tonight, it is obvious that we need to have some conversation as a community on this whole idea of family life. And Elder Collier, are you there? We're taking closing comments so that we can open the floor for persons who may want to make a comment or ask a question. The most important responsibility of the family in the context of what we see in Genesis 2. Go ahead, Elder Collier.
I didn't say that again, Matthew. Repeat what you said.
The most important responsibility of the family in the context of Genesis chapter 2. The primary responsibility of the family.
Well, what I would say is the primary responsibility of the family, the Lord says to be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. And if that had to continue, if sin didn't exist, then we would have wonderful families in this world.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Elder Collier. Elder Shaw, that's you now. You're the last voice in terms of the panelists.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
you haven't given me my chance.
Ezra, Elder Shaw, hold. Elder Ezra, go. Elder Ezra, go. Sorry.
Well, we cannot speak about the genesis of the family today without bringing in the era of sin, because it didn't last too long after Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve spoiled the whole thing, and they spoiled it for us. But like Brother Collier said, the primary, God created man and woman in his image to procreate, to continue the creation.
Right.
And that did not stop after sin. It was supposed to continue. However, sin spoiled the whole thing and turned it upside down. So the procreation must continue. It didn't stop. And because of that, you find Solomon had to describe to us what a wife supposed to be. And the whole scripture described to us what a man's supposed to be. the head of the family, the priest of the home. They want to lead the family to the altar, to create the altar, to lead the children to Christ, train up a child in the way that he should go, that when he is old, he will not depart from it. It's still the mission of God. There's one statement when I listen to African movies sometimes, you would hear they say that this woman is not wife material. So in the concept of Eve today, there are woman and there is wife.
Right.
So it does not necessarily, not because you're a woman, which is defined as an adult female human being, is not the same as a wife, who is a mother and a helpmate in a family to grow a family in the likeness of God.
Elder, well said. Thank you. Elder Shaw, last voice of the panelists, and then we open the floor so persons to make their comment or ask their questions.
Okay. In context of Genesis chapter 2, God brought a woman to Adam. Adam saw the woman. Adam said, "This is now flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone." God married them. They now became man and wife. They were supposed to fill the earth with other people like them who bore the image of God. So they were supposed to fill up the earth with other people who represented God in character and who could communicate on the same level as Adam and Eve, what they did, how they did communicate with God. That was the primary responsibility. So when Adam and Eve came together, when they copulated, they would have brought to pass what God wanted, the one flesh business, two people becoming one flesh and showing the unity of the Godhead through those two people copulating and becoming one flesh. And out of that would come other people who would represent God with his character and image.
Well said. Thank you. Now we're going to open to the, as I said previously, we're going to open so any person who may have a contribution or who may have a question for the panelists, you can do that now. We will raise your hands so we can see and work with the hands that are raised on the.
There are two hands, Pastor, but before we do that, can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
Here. 9 o'clock.
You were saying something, your volume dropped.
I was saying, I see two hands there. Gisle and Pastor Jace. It's already 9 o'clock. So what time is our cutoff time?
We will give ourselves 9:15 and then close.
All right then. So Sister Gisle.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
So, listening to the conversation tonight, and sometimes as Christians, I think we take certain verses in the Bible, again, my opinion, and we can be one-track minded and misinterpret things. Yes, God told Adam and Eve to replenish the earth. Granted, in today's day, the earth is replenished. God also said that men should be providers, right? So I hear a lot of condemning women and condemning families who have decided that children is not for them. I've even heard that it's selfish to not have children if you're childbearing age. I believe personally that it is selfish to have children that you're not ready to take care of. and that only a couple should be able to decide when it's time for them to have children. That being said, again, God also said that men should be the providers, but in today's day, women are also being providers, but nobody condemns a woman for being a provider. And so when women are providers, then like a previous participant said, then the roles are shared. And sometimes we need to be mindful of other situations that may be happening in a couple's life and not make blanket statements that it is unholy or that a holy Christian, this is the ideal family for a holy Christian. Because I think it's a personal choice on how people run their families. Yes, there are still things that they should be doing, like serving God, being a Christian. But I think those decisions are between them and God, and not for us as Christians to judge and to condemn families. And correct me if I'm wrong, but people were not, it didn't seem that we were condemning families more than we were condemning women a lot tonight. And women alone don't make this decision. And if a man met a woman who wanted to further her career before she made children, both parties are to love each other enough to support each other's decision and have those conversations before they get married. So because I'm married today doesn't mean that you have to tell me that I have to have a child now because I'm of childbearing age when I'm not ready to take care of a child. Because that's selfish. Because the same Christians who are saying that is going to say that, look at her, she having children, she's not taking care of them. So I think, again, people should do it when they're ready and when they're responsible enough to take care of children.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ghislaine. I think let me say it again. Our discussion tonight was looking at the mandate of Genesis 2. And as Elisha rightly said, along the line, we allow the era post-sin to creep into a conversation that was supposed to happen pre-sin. We were talking about the ideal family in Genesis 2 and what the mandate was that God gave to that family. That's why the discussion was captioned the genesis of the family. In the process, we kind of slid into the whole idea about post-sin. There's a lot of conversation to be had as it relates to the dynamics associated with the present family today. We have not entertained that, and we're not going to entertain that tonight. And I think there are implications that stares at us because of that. And so all I will say to us again tonight is simply this. We will have that conversation. There are things that need to be said that were not said that will bring a lot of things into perspective. And so while I understand what is being said, I think the context we sought to create tonight was about the ideal family pre-sin and not post-sin. And our goal is we don't want to make it seem like we are being biased. We want to be as fair-minded as possible. And therefore, there are certain implications that came as a result of sin that we didn't touch. And we will touch it on Friday night. And so I expect Friday night to be very heavy. And so please bear with us. We're making baby steps. Okay, Pastor JC, and we moving. Go ahead.
Good evening again. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, Pastor, and keeping it in context of the pre-fall perfect family that you mentioned earlier, it's important. There's a great stress on the function of procreation, which of course we see predates sin. But in terms of the dynamics of the family, what we see before sin is one of co-dominance and not dominance. For example, in Genesis 1, 26 and 28, the word is clear that God told them to have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air. So it clearly shows to me that God had a mutual dimension for Adam and Eve, not where the whole concept of dominance comes in Genesis 3 after sin. So it is clear that Adam and Eve were in the garden together, tending for the flowers and the plants, but they also had dominion over the fish of the sea. So whether it was terrestrial, marine, aquatic, celestial, God gave them dominion over that. So that is critical in establishing what God's intent for the family was. And consequently, the command or the instruction to procreate was a direct result of them coming together in a mutual, covenant relationship. The offspring should not be the genesis of the discussion. It is the product of the discussion. So I just wanted to highlight those two in terms of you being pre-fall.
Thank you very much for that clarity. Any other hands?
Pastor Benden.
Yes, just now, Ella Paris. No more hands? Ella Shaw? All right, Ella Paris.
I haven't seen any other hands.
All right, go ahead, Ella Paris.
Pastor Benden, this is a kind of topic, and this is a
well, family, this is where we leave for now. We hope you did enjoy. There were some good points made early on in the discussion, and I hope that you did enjoy it very much. I want to invite you to join us in the morning for morning devotion as we continue here to praise God and worship Him and glorify His name. So I want to wish you a great evening. May the good Lord bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May He lift up the light of His countenance upon you and give you peace, both now and forevermore. We'll see you in the morning. Come join us at 6 o'clock for morning devotion. Have a great night.